Huh? Oh, hey guys, I didn't see you there. So Drix is from the PH Pals. I was just working on my deck here, Hammer Mage. Oh, you want a deck tech on it? Well, I'll see what I can do. I mean, you got a little work to do on it, but I'll let you know what I'm working on here. Okay, Hammer Mage. First off, Arcadian Mask. You know I love it. Favorite set. So we got a 1/1 for 2, mono red. Okay, starting off strong. This might give you some Tibalt flashbacks, but let's go through the ability here. Pay an X and a red, tap it, discard a card, destroy artifacts. Well, with converted mana cost extra less. Oh boy, well, you know, when he's holding the hammers, everything looks like a nail, right? This is another one of those commanders where it has an ability that I would just love to have in PDH. The reason I bring up Tibalt is because Tibalt says nobody can gain life. That's good stuff. I don't like it when people gain life. Now, another thing I don't like is when people have a bunch of mana rocks and a bunch of other artifacts that are bothering me, and this is a great way to get rid of them. However, it requires that you play a mono red deck with a commander that does nothing but that. So it's another one of those, well, what do you do kind of commanders. What do you really do with this? And before I get into what you do with it, let me just give you a full list of the payoffs we're playing in this deck. That's it. We have the Wellsprings because, hey, we destroy all artifacts. We're also destroying these. These all say when they enter the battlefield and when they leave the battlefield, they do something. If your Wellspring draws your card, and this gets a land out of your deck. And then Hammer Mage blows them up later, draw another card, get a land. Cool, whatever. And then Blood Knight Vampire has Madness. You gotta discard a card. Hey, get a free 4/1. Cool. So that's about it. So, where do we go from there, right? Well, Tibalt did the whole wall route, and that was kind of fun. Made sense with Tibalt because he, he just kind of wants to stay alive and bug people. But what does Hammer Mage want to do? Well, Hammer Mage wants to take those hammers and turns people into nails, all right? He wants to slam some people. So what I'm doing is pump spells, and we got a lot of them, whole lot of them. The idea is you play your creatures, you pump them, but also if one of your opponents is attacking another one of your opponents, maybe you pump one of their creatures. Why not, right? Help everybody out. Mainly help you out, though. As long as someone's taking damage, you're happy, right? So before I get into just raw damage, I play a lot of haste effects. Now these are nice with Hammer Mage, I'll admit, because it gives you an opportunity to play them, haste them up, and tap them all in one turn. So people with all those artifacts, they won't know what hit them. And it's kind of nice because the tap really does hurt. You got to wait a whole turn cycle, keep a one butt alive just to blow up all these artifacts. It's tough. So haste is really the way to go if you're trying to activate them. But also, if you're swinging with your creatures, it's great. So first off, let's see. We got just straight up haste effects. These all give haste and draw a card, which is nice. Crimson Mist does make the creature red, which is, it's neat. Makes Doomblade live, I think. I think that makes it so that they're no longer black if they were black, so that's cool. Then we got some haste and pump effects. These are really what you want to work with. Let's see. Reckless Charge and Uncanny Speed both give +3/+0 in haste. Reckless Charge is a sorcery, but it has flashback, and Uncanny Speed has the benefit of being an instant. But if you're playing it for the haste effect, you kind of have to do it before combat anyways, so it's not a big surprise. And then other pump haste effects. Screaming Fury is kind of the creme de la creme of haste and pump. +5/+0 and haste. It's just so much value. It really hurts as a sorcery, but I think it's just worth it when you're just playing mono pump spells here. And then a Fewer Charms are a really funny one. It doesn't technically haste and pump. You can basically give haste or +2/+0. But it also does 3 damage to a wizard, which, I mean, actually comes up quite a few times in any typical game. Kills Archaeomancer, really good target, for instance. Also kills any Changeling. There's a handful of reasons people run Changeling, so this nips him in the bud. Kind of cool. And then 2 other haste effects, kind of interesting ones. Generator Servant is a really cool one. It's also ramp. You tap it, you add 2 colors to your mana pool. If you spend that on a creature, the creature gains haste. What is cool and what I don't see happen too often is it makes 2 colors mana. You can spend 1 of that on one creature and 1 of that on another creature, and they both get haste, which I've never done personally, but I would love to do that. And Messenger Speed is just nice because some of these creatures I run don't have trample, So giving them trample's nice, and it just gives haste as well. And for 1 mana, I mean, can't really beat that, right? So those are haste effects. Like I said, good with Hammer Mage, good with just pumping creatures in general. But let's get into the nitty gritty of this, just like bonus damage stuff. Starting off with 2 cards I really like. These are great for your opponent's creatures. Blood Frenzy and Bloodlust. So first off, Blood Frenzy, target attacking or blocking creature gets +4/+0. And then at the end of the turn, it gets destroyed. So this is really good. You know, your opponents think they have like a favorable attacking and blocking setup or something. You just pump one of their creatures, make it kill the creature that's blocking or whatever, but also kill the creature you pumped. So like sometimes a super big blowout, sometimes pretty often makes this a 2-for-1, or just hit your opponent for more damage, always relevant. Bloodlust, similar effect in the end. It gives the creature +4/-4, but it can't kill the creature. It'll just take it to 1 toughness. So if you like, say your opponent has like a 3/2, if you use this on it, it'll turn into a 7/1. So, you know, definitely kill anything it's being blocked by, but also it'll probably die from the creature that's blocking it. But yeah, I love these ones. These are good on anyways creatures. And then just a few other ones here. We got Run Amok. I like this, and Brute Strength. I like both of these because they give trample. This has to target an attacking creature, which doesn't really matter, but it gives a +3/+3. 3 butts nice. This just gets +3/+1, but both 3 power, tough, and trample. Very nice. And then we have 1 double strike effect, Uncaged Fury. This Teamer Battle Rage should be in here at the very least. But double strike effects are just crazy. I think I decided to play some more other pump spells instead of them, but I should probably just find a cut for Teamer Battle Rage because double strike just really compounds with any pump spells you're playing, so totally worth playing more of them. But Uncaged Fury I do like more because it gives +1/+1 as well. So, you know, double strike, obviously good for pump spells, and also good for targeting your opponent's stuff every once in a while. Good stuff. So then we got a couple of enchantments. So these are more for your own creatures, but, you know, in a pinch, they can go anywhere. Starting off with, you know, this needs to be talked about by itself. The Brute. Now, when I originally built Hammer Mage, I basically was like, let's focus on activating Hammer Mage as much as possible and make it as beneficial as possible for me to activate. So I played a lot more madness stuff, flashback spells, all that stuff, but it was pretty useless. I mean, you could activate Hammer Mage, blow up all the artifacts, cool, but then like, what are you doing? Like, it doesn't do enough. So I remember, I think I was scrolling through red enchantments for some reason. I saw the Brute, and I was like, what if I did like pump up red, like tribal instead for Hammer Mage, because he doesn't really do much on his own. So what if I go that route? So this was oddly kind of the inspiration for the deck, even though it's not really like much of a pump spell, but it's what got my gears grinding. But I love this card. I just love looking at it. It's so ridiculous. Anyways, +1/+0 and regenerate in red. Yes, it costs 3 red to regenerate, but that's how much you got to pay when you regenerate in red, I guess. Great way to keep some of your creatures alive. Also a great way to keep the Hammer Mage alive if you want. If you want to go for that cheeky commander damage kill, which I have done before in this deck. I've done 21 commander damage with Hammer Mage before. So not impossible, but yeah, it's super pet card of mine. It's not the best. I wouldn't say run it unless you just want to, you know, look at it, which I love looking at it. Going into more reasonable enchantment here. Madcap skills, +3/+0 and menace. Just great cost on it. Just all around a good card. Maniacal Rage. This is one of the ones that you want to play on your opponent's creatures. Forces them into attacking because the creature can't block anymore, and they get +2/+2. So you know, just hope they don't swing it at you. But if you're not swinging at you, everybody's losing life. That's what you want with these kinds of pump centric decks. And then one more enchantment. This is one of my favorites. I love Getsu Fire Breathing. Flash, and you can pay a red to return it to its owner's hand. I mean, it's just a fire breathing effect. So I really often will just have this in my hand. Whenever somebody attacks, I'll just like leave all my mana up, and then like after they say no blocks, I'll just flash it in, give them, you know, +4/+0 or something, and then bounce it to my hand. And just do that and help everybody get all this extra damage through. Really fun card. And really easy to keep alive as long as you're careful with it. And then we got another little set of pump spells. I put all these together because they're kind of similar, but these are really where you get some nasty pumps going. So each of these give a creature +1/+0 for each mountain you control. Clouds of Valakut's the best one because it also gives first strike. Granite Grip is just straight up +1/+1 for each mountain you control. And Downhill Charge is an instant that does it. But you can also sacrifice a mountain instead of paying its mana cost. So on a big turn where you like play a bunch of pump spells and then end with Downhill Charge, you can just sack a mountain to finish someone off. Oftentimes with this deck, I'll kind of like hold on to Downhill Charge and Uncaged Fury and maybe even like a Screaming Fury too, and I'll like play a Kiln Fiend or something, and I'll Screaming Fury it, and then I'll swing and I'll Uncaged Fury it, and I'll Downhill Charge it, and before that I'll give it Haste with Expedite or something. It's one of those decks where you like kind of hold a lot of crap in your hand and kind of blow it all off in one big hit. I've had like turns where I play a Kiln Fiend, swing at someone for 28 or something ridiculous like that. That's kind of what you're going for with this deck. But that's the majority of the pump spells. And a way I get a little bit of added value out of them is with these two bad boys, Gravitic Punch and Fling. Now I should also have Soul's Fire in here. Like I said, we're under construction right now. I noticed a lot of issues with this deck and I want to fix it up. But I just want to get this deck tech out and show off the strategy that I made up for Hammer Mage here. So Gravitic Punch, target creature deals damage equal to its power to target player, and Jumpstart, you can do it again by discarding a card. So you get your 15 power Kiln Fiend, play it once, it gets +3/+0, it goes to 18, and then play it again, it goes up to 21. Suddenly you're doing 40 damage to someone. Crazy card. You need a lot of mana, but you save it up and you just do it all in one big turn. And Fling, you have to sacrifice the creature, but just lets you get a little extra value out of your pump spells. Great cards. Like I said, I should have Soul's Fire in here. Basically, it's an instant speed version of this that you can only do once. So that's the majority of the pump. Now, here's some of the creatures I'm running that I like to pump up. First off, a little controversial. We got some Infectors. Now, this is kind of my philosophy, Like, if I'm playing a deck that I know is less than competitive, to be polite, I feel less bad playing strategies like Infect. And another example is like my mono blue decks that I have are silly, fun stuff. So I don't feel as bad when I play Rhystic Study, when I play Mystic Remora, because it's all for the, we're going for fun here, right? We're not going for super competitive play. So I don't feel quite as bad when I win with an Infector in my Hammer Mage deck. but these still generate a lot of salt, I'm sure. So Razor Swine I love, 2/1 first strike, very cool. Ogre Menu is just great. Fire Breather with Infect, I mean, Jesus, great stuff. And then Corpse Cur, I just have it in here, it gets a creature with Infect back, so if one of these died earlier and I happen to draw Corpse Cur, get it back. And it has Infect itself, so, little Infectors, Screaming Fury on these, give a double strike, fling it at someone, boom, they're dead, kill 2 people in 1 turn even. I mean, crazy stuff. Now, we also have these two guys. I mentioned Kiln Fiend a few times and Pyron. Very similar cards. I should play more of these, though. There's Spell Gorger Weird in Whirl from the Spark. It gets a +1/+1 counter whenever we play a non-creature spell. Should be a no-brainer. Also, Fire Urchin I have over here. I'm going to sneak this guy in. Whenever we cast an sorcery, it gets +1/+0. I like this because it has Trample. And then there's another one that scries whenever you play a non-creature spell and gets +1/+0, Burning Prophet. So I'd like to sneak all those into this deck. But Kiln Fiend is kind of the best of the best here. +3 whenever you cast an instant sorcery. I mean, that just like doubles up on every pump spell you play. Crazy stuff. And then Pirate Hound is great because that's Trample and the pumping persists. You get a +1/+1 counter whenever you cast an instant sorcery. Really great card. Well, again, you see these in a lot of red decks. They have a lot of utility. And then, it's a mono red deck, so we got to play some colorless stuff. Old Mike's Crusher, Eldrazi Devastator, Rune Processor. You'll see this little trio in a lot of decks. We got our 8/8 Annihilator 2, has to attack each turn. Our 8/9 Trample, and our 7/8 that gains us 5 life if we can put a card from exile back into a grave. You just the creature quality dwindles pretty quickly in red. So these are kind of your best bet in the end. And giving these things double strike, it's pretty good. Or giving them haste, it's also great. So nothing to complain about. May as well run these. And then last, this isn't really a creature I'm going to be attacking with. I mean, I will if I'm attacking the Monarch, but this is in here to get Monarch. Monarch is really great for red decks because they just have so little card draw, and that is why the red version of the Monarch creatures is so bad. It can only attack the Monarch, but it is a 4/4, which is nice. But yeah, ETB, you get Monarch. Good stuff. So that is creatures. That is Pump. Now I'm going to talk about, excuse me, I'm going to talk about the other things that red does fairly well that you may as well put in the deck. Starting off with, I'm sure you can guess what's coming. It is the fireballs. Yep. You know, I mean, this is a thing pretty unique to red that is very powerful, very versatile in a lot of ways, and you may as well just run them. Especially in a deck like this that just doesn't have much direction and is just kind of, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to do what it can. So these are all basically pay X to do X damage. Rolling Thunder is the best one because you can divide it however you want. Costs 2 red and an X, but still worth it. Fireball can divide it, but it's much less efficient. Lava Burst and Carevex Torch can only have one thing. In fact, hang on, I think there's one more. Disintegrate. These all can only have one thing, but they each have their little benefits. Disintegrate says that if you hit it with a creature, I mean, if you hit a creature with it, that creature can't be regenerated, and you have to exile it, which is pretty nice. Lava Burst says the damage can't be prevented if it's dealt to a creature. I wish it was damage can't be prevented if it targets a player, but it's not, unfortunately. And then Carevex Torch is a little harder to counter. Best one for going face because you got to pay 2 extra to counter it, which is pretty nice. So fireballs, you know, you play a few lands, that's, you know, maybe 8 or 9 damage, but this is where you really go off. Mana Geyser. Add a red for each tap land your opponent's control. In the late game, this can easily generate you 20 mana. Suddenly that fireball is lethal. It's really nice. And then you can double down with these two guys. Anarchist returns a sorcery when it comes into play. Get your Mana Geyser back, cast it again. Gets your Chronicler, gets an instant or sorcery back. This is great because it also gets your pump spells back, but you can also get Mana Geyser back. And you know, some of your sorcery speed pump spells can get returned with this guy too, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, this is your little fireball package. You know, what is this, 8 cards? 8 cards in each red deck, that's pretty worth it. And then from there, we have just a few more red cards. I thought it was run, I don't see it, maybe I did not, well, whatever. One board wipe. I thought I had Bloodfire Infusion in here as well. Well, it'll be in here if it's not. Like I said, under construction. But Swirling Sandstorm, if you have Threshold, which isn't too hard to get in this deck because you kind of run through these pump spells and fill your grave up pretty quickly. But, you know, when you have Threshold, does 5 damage to each creature without flying. It's a little hard to get off, but just 5 damage to each creature without flying is pretty impactful in PDH, so it's just worth it, even if it's dead sometimes. Just may as well run it. And then I don't play too much burn, even though red does have such a good burn, because I kind of want people to have their creatures. I want people to be swinging because I want to have more opportunities to pump them, right? So the only real burn, like straight burn spell I play in here is Magma Jet. And I'm playing it because it scries 2. And it takes care of, you know, problem creatures that weren't going to attack anyways, so it's nice. I really can't avoid putting this in a red deck. I really like it. I might also put an Omen of the Forge now too. New card from Theros. Basically, it's an enchantment that does the same thing, has flash, and then it scries when you sack it. Probably sneak that in later on. And a little bit of card draw as well. Red doesn't have the best card draw, obviously, but Cathartic Reunion is a pretty nice dig. Draw 3 is really something. Discarding 2 hurts, but, you know, draw a few extra mountains, you can just discard those. And then Faithless Looting, just an all-around great card. Another good thing, discard to Hammer Mage, I guess. I mean, you can flash it back, which is nice. But, well, card draw never hurt. And then these cards, you just... It feels too bad to not run these in mono red. Yes, they're narrow, but when they're good, they're great. Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast. Counter target blue spell or destroy target blue permanent. Just totally destroys blue decks in key scenarios, so I say it's worth it. So that's some red good stuff. Now this last pile is a bit of ramp, and now what's tricky is I don't want to just play Mana Rocks because, you know, I'm going to play Hammer Mage. I'm gonna blow them up, So I don't just want to play like, I don't know, even Pristine Talisman. I don't have Pristine Talisman in this deck, like, because I'm just gonna kill them and it's not gonna be worth it. I don't want to play Manalith, Mana Geode, all that stuff. So first off, what I play in place of some Mana Rocks is Kozilek's Channel and Coordinate Geometries. Really cool mana dorks that anybody can play. Kozilek's Channel is just huge. 4/4, another great pump target, but it taps for 2 colorless, which is awesome. And something this deck really needs when it's trying to have a big turn where it kind of blows its whole load. Coordinate Geometry is really cool. Vigilance, and it taps for colorless. And it's a sizable body. 2/3 is pretty nice. So those are both great. And another little creature to ramp me up. It's not like straight true ramp, but it's an interesting card to say the least. 2/2 for 3. Pay a red and bounce it to your hand to add 2 colorless and red to your mana pool. You can only do it as a sorcery, but if you're trying to go off on your turn, no big deal. But yeah, just a really bizarre effect. I wouldn't mind them making a few more creatures like this, but great for those turns where you really want to go all in on something. And then there are some Mana Rocks in the deck. Now, these were all picked pretty specifically because they sack to draw cards. Because card draw in red is very valuable. And if I have a Hammer Mage turn, I can just sack these and draw my card, and it's not the worst thing. So that's kind of why I'm running them. Mindstone, and I mean, these should all look familiar by now if you've been watching any of our deck techs, but Mindstone, 2 colorless for a 1 Mana Rock, and you can pay 1 tap, sack it, draw a card. Commander Sphere taps for any color, and you can sack to draw a card. Really the best. And Raskrella gains you a bit of life, but you do have to have Ascend, 10 or more permanents, which it's not very hard to get in this format in general. But otherwise, taps for colorless, and sack, gain 3 life, draw a card. Pretty nice. And then the one true Mana Rock I do run in this deck, of course, is Dark Shield Ingot, because it's indestructible. So I'm not going to blow that up, which is, nice little benefit. And, I'd love to play more Mana Rocks, so it's totally worth just running that one. Oh, and then another little bit of ramp. It's not quite a Mana Rock, but, it dodges the Hammer Mage quite easily, Wayfarer's Bauble. I mean, I'm just going to sack and go get a land anyways, so no big deal to run that. And 2 more here. 2 more artifacts I'm running. Darksteel Pendant, once again, indestructible, so it's safe. And, I can scry every turn with it, which is, again, really nice for red, because poor red just cannot sift through its deck well at all. So putting those mountains on to the bottom of your deck to draw some real cards is really nice. Then Universal Solvent, usually have to hold this in your hand and be a little more careful with it because Hammer Mage will blow it up. But, all-purpose removal like that is really great. And then I think all we got left is just a little more kind of colorless staples. They're here, of course. Tormod's and Relic. Again, these play around Hammer Mage, so really no downside to playing them alongside him. Because, you're just going to sack or exile them eventually anyways. But, like we always say, graveyard decks are everywhere. Combo decks often utilize the grave, so it's really just nice to have 2 silver bullets for them, at least. If you could play more, it'd probably be a good idea. And then the final card of the deck, Scour. I mean, why not? Red has a lot of blind spots for removal, so every once in a while you just got to kill something, and this is the best way to do it. So I think that's it for the non-lands. Pretty simple stuff. I mean, like I said, this deck doesn't have much of a direction to it, so all these cards are pretty interchangeable. You could do whatever you want with this deck. Really, it's really a blank slate. Switch the pump spells out for your favorite pump spells, switch the creatures out for your favorite creatures. Doesn't really matter. And lastly, let's just go into these non-basic lands. We do play a lot of mountains because we want Claws of Alaka, Granite Grip, Down No Charge. We want those cards to get as much pump as possible. But otherwise, we play 2 of the cycle lands. I should probably be playing the last cycle land as well, but Desert of the Fervent, Smoldering Crate, these are just great because, you don't want to draw these lands late in the game. You just want to draw something real. Haunted Fengraf. This is a pump deck, but it really doesn't play that many creatures, and that's kind of an issue with it, I think. I kind of want to put more creatures in, but it's nice to have a way to recycle one of your creatures. Chosen at random doesn't really matter. Like, you're happy with anything because your pump spells are where the damage comes in anyways. But yeah, Lands that tap for colorless are not that big of a downside in a colorless and one color deck. And two other cards I always like sneaking into monocolor decks. Desert taps for colorless, or you can tap it to do 1 damage to an attacking creature. And Quicksand, you can sack it to give a attacking creature without flying -1/-2. So every once in a while, you know, these screw over attackers, which is nice. And again, one color deck, like, is it really so bad to have a few more lands that tap for colorless instead of your color? I wouldn't say so. Radiant Fountain, you know, game 2 life, why not? It's just kind of free. I just don't see why not. And last but not least, Opal Palace. I run this in just about every deck of mine. So basically you can use it as a filter land for any color in your commander's color identity, so just red for me. But if you use that to cast your commander, it gets a +1/+1 counter for each time it's been cast from the command zone. And that includes this time. So even the first time you cast it, it does give it a +1/+1 counter. And, you know, Hammer Mage is pretty cheap. And, you know, if you play it a few times, it's going to die pretty easily. So I think I've used Opal Palace to cast Hammer Mage as a 6/6 at least once. So, you know, for a land to basically work as a 6/6 in some scenarios, I think that's pretty worth it. Again, especially in a monocolor deck where it's just not that big of a downside. So yeah, like I said though, I do play kind of a skimpier, for me at least, a skimpier amount of non-basics because again, I'm trying to play a lot of mountains to make those Mountain Matters cards matter a little more. But yeah, I mean, that's the deck. It's pretty simple stuff. Like I said, I want to make some changes to it. So yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna get back to work here. A little more work to do. Man, just so many cards to add. Oh, I hate this format. I'll see you next time. Drix is signing out.